10, 15, 20. Goal outside, 25. Goal 30. Goal 35. Goal 40. Goal 45, 50, 45, 40. Yes, sir. Willie Galt, ladies and gentlemen, is running all the way to the state capitol. Give him 6. Goal 10, 15, 20. Goal outside, 25. Goal.
Oh, yeah. It is Vandy week. It is a big one. I don't know if we imagined it having this much on the line coming in, especially when we previewed it in the preseason. This is Frank. This is Kerry. This is the House of Orange Live Monday night Vandy edition. How you feeling going into this week?
Probably, I would say the best I've felt all season going into this week. I mean, everything that you could have ever wished for pretty much happened this past weekend for us. So definitely 30 times happier tonight than I was on last week's show.
That's a fact. Yeah, it's definitely a difference of mindset going in this week as well. But make sure you guys hit that like, hit that thumbs up, share out the content. That's the biggest way to help the channel. And if you have not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. There was a lot going on today with, let's see, I'm trying to think where to start. JP Estrella, season-ending injury today, unfortunate for Tennessee. A topic we're going to get into a little bit tonight about this game for the Josh Heupel era. And then within the last hour, DeJuan Morris, former USC commit from Murfreesboro, has flipped to Tennessee tonight. I know Tennessee's worked that one pretty hard. We'll talk a little recruiting at the end tonight. But I don't know what more we can want than it's all on the line this week. Biggest game of the year. Biggest game of the Josh Heupel era, in my opinion. It's all on the line. Feel pretty good about it. You said you feel pretty good about it. Is this the biggest game of the Heupel era?
I would say this is the biggest game of Josh Heupel's head coaching career. If I had to choose a game, because I mean, this is if you lose this game, it's a killer. It could put a lot of damage on the program. And if you win the game, you're in the playoff, and that helps everything surrounding the university. Win, and you boost your program, and your university lose, and your program gets laughed at for the entire offseason, no matter what bowl game you get, no matter how you play in that bowl game.
I'm throwing a Ben Joyce heater at you right here about collarbone high. Does this game determine if Josh Heupel is the guy or not for Tennessee football?
I would say yes. You saw coaches in the past with much better rosters still find a way to lose to Vanderbilt. I do think that Vanderbilt has a much better roster than they probably have in the past decade. But, I mean, you're still – Tennessee's got, like, their roster's 2 times better than Vanderbilt's is. You saw that in the Vanderbilt game on Saturday night when they played LSU. 2 unranked teams, 2 teams seemingly going into that game, kind of going in different directions. I mean, you had Vandy really happy with their season coming off a bye week, and then you had LSU, which was a dumpster fire over the past few weeks. And LSU still had their way with them. They still dominated the game. I get they only won by 7 points, but if you watch the game, it kind of was over for the entire second half. So Vandy still is kind of what Vandy is. They do get to play at their own stadium. It'll be majority orange, but they play a lot better at home than they do on the road. But thankfully, the 11 o'clock kick really does help Tennessee. It's kind of weird how this game will go. It all depends on how Pavia plays and what Tennessee has to answer for him and him only. I mean, if Pavia doesn't play good, Vanderbilt doesn't even come close to winning. If Pavia plays good, then they have a chance to keep things pretty close. If not, pull off probably the second biggest upset in Vanderbilt history, other than when they beat Alabama earlier this season.
One of the stats I saw on this, the games Tennessee's lost to Vanderbilt over the last, going back to 2005, as Tennessee was not ranked. I don't think at any point, maybe in 2016 they were ranked. I'm trying to think on that one because they had dropped the South Carolina game. But other than that, they had not been ranked. But this, to me, I go back to that year, 2016, Butch Jones. I thought Butch Jones was close on having that program going in the right direction. He was in the driver's seat to win the SEC East, get to the SEC championship, and then they laid an egg in Columbia, like has happened numerous times. And then they had a chance still to get to the Sugar Bowl. They laid another egg in Nashville to end the season. And that was essentially the end of the Butch Jones era. The fan base was done with him at that point. I don't really think there was ever that game in the Jeremy Pruitt era. I think Derek Dooley, after the Kentucky game, his second year, there was a good case he could have been fired then, but he never recovered from that. Philip Fulmer, I really don't know, even though he went another 7 years, I don't know he ever fully recovered from the 2001 SEC championship. Things just kind of up and down a little bit during the way. But I think this is this game for Josh Heupel. And I've had people tell me, nah, they just need to treat this like another game. If they're treating it just like another game this week, they don't know what's at stake.
No, they don't. They have no idea.
The biggest game of Josh Heupel era. And I firmly believe if Tennessee were to go down and lose this week, things are only going to go down from there. You absolutely, positively cannot, in year number 4, with the playoffs on the line, to get a chance to play for the national championship, you cannot go to Nashville and lay an egg. No way about it. Nobody's going to spin it to me any other way. We can put it on the players, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line, it's going to come down to these coaches. And if Tennessee were to go down and lose this game, this fan base is going to have their pitchforks out. They're going to be ready to burn a bonfire. They're going to be wanting heads to roll that night. And right or wrong, I think you've got to take advantage of this opportunity. And we've talked about it. It would be the worst possible scenario for Vanderbilt to keep us out of the playoff. It would be awful. I mean, it goes back, right here. I'll hit some other comments here. What's up, Miles? Good to see you, man. Losing to Vandy surpass our collective PTSD from losing Columbia. Miles,
1,000%
attendance for that one. I think it would be worse. I think
it would be. Yeah,
be a worse loss in Columbia. Because I still don't think we were getting in that year. We're getting in this year.
Yeah.
With it, because the way it played out, I mean, if it would have come down to Alabama or Tennessee, there could have been a case, but it didn't. Oh my gosh, yeah. I understand, brother. I totally understand. That was a night. That was a rough one. But let me hit a few comments in here. There's a lot. Rhonda in here said, good evening. Let's go Big Orange. Herb says, go Big Orange. Love to see Boo take 1 or 2 to the house this Saturday. You agree it's a matter of time before Boo gets to the end zone?
Oh, yeah, it definitely is a matter of time before he scores. He's so close. He is so stinking close. Just pretty much there's been 3 or 4 times now. Just one guy's all he got to get past and he scores. So,
yeah, just still if Reese Winters is in here, we'll get to hear him talk about the Squirrel White at Arkansas, which I totally agree on. The weekend was perfect except the David Sanders news. Yeah, we'll talk about that later on, but it was a great weekend for Tennessee as far as everything. This is the game. This is the game. I don't want Tennessee to spin it any other way. I don't want them to go in and treat it like any other game. I want them to go in and treat it like their hair is on fire this weekend. Let's acknowledge it for what it is. The season's on the line right here. You win, you're going to the playoffs. You don't win, you're going to the Citrus, the Outback, the Gator, Music City Bowl, somewhere like that. And the fan base will not travel for it. They will not. They'll travel for the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
They won't travel if they get put out on it. And talking about the playoffs, man, we got a lot of help. It started off early Saturday. Ole Miss loses to Florida. We had, Indiana lost to Ohio State. Indiana is behind Tennessee in the AP poll now. We had Alabama got throttled by Oklahoma Saturday night. I don't know how the committee's going to spin that one in Alabama's favor because Tennessee beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Now, a struggling Oklahoma team just throttled Alabama the other night. There's no way the committee can spin this one. And then Texas A&M losing to Auburn was big. because
That
I
was
was
good.
afraid of some funny business with Texas A&M, and now they're pretty much out, even though they could, at 3 losses, still technically get in.
Yeah.
Because if
I
they
mean, they
win this
still,
week, they're
yeah,
what's
and
that?
they're playing. I mean, they still have the path. It just relies them. I mean, they can easily beat Texas this week at home. I just don't know on neutral side against Georgia in basically Georgia's backyard. I don't see Texas or Texas A&M truly beating Georgia in Atlanta this year. I just don't see it happening.
I don't either, but Texas A&M does have that path if they win this week.
Yeah.
They'll play Georgia. If they beat Georgia, they're in. They're in as one of the – I guess they would be top 4, wouldn't they? Or let me
Yeah,
think,
they would
because
get
Big 12 is not
they'd be
going to be
top
ahead
4.
of them.
They'd be top 4.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're looking right now at Oregon. It's going to be Oregon, Ohio State, the Big Ten championship. I
Yeah.
guess unless Ohio State were to lose to Michigan. You're going to have – man, Kansas has wreaked havoc on the Big 12
They
last
have.
couple of weeks. Beat BYU and Colorado. So Arizona State, of course, beat BYU. Iowa State's in the mix as well. You've got – I still don't know how the ACC's playing out. SMU is in, from
Mhm.
what I understand, but Clemson, Miami, I guess they come down to common opponents maybe.
Yeah, I would assume so. I don't know how
I
that.
mean, I know
think
that's
if
how it is with the
Miami,
SEC.
I think if Miami wins, they're in. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
If Miami beats Syracuse this week, I'm pretty sure they're in.
Okay, because Clemson's done because they play South Carolina this
Yeah.
week, which will have no bearing on their standings. But, I mean, I wonder if it's kind of like with the SEC, because I'd wondered if Tennessee could possibly play for the SEC championship if A&M beat Texas, but no, it comes down to common opponents. And Texas A&M both beat Arkansas. So that put Tennessee out, and I'm totally fine with that. Playing a
Oh, yeah.
senseless game, chance of injury or anything, I'm fine with it. Take care of business this week. And then I guess you get we get a couple weeks off before it. What playoffs are like December 20th, right
Yep.
around that date.
Yep. You would get the greatness of getting a bye week, but you don't get the
boy.
chance to host a home playoff game, which I feel like that's a lot. I think I'd rather host a playoff game than get a bye week and then go play on a neutral site. I'd rather be going into that second game after winning a home game and then going on a neutral site and playing that game rather than sitting on the couch and some team that just played, whether they were on the road or at home, some team just played the week before and they played against a top opponent, top 12 opponent, no matter which way you want to spin it. And I mean, definitely the momentum going into the game's already going one team's way. So, and anything can happen on a neutral site game. So it just, in my opinion, it's better to host the game and then go play after that.
You have any idea how the tickets will work on that? If because I know you'll be, if it's a home game, trying to get that home game
No,
ticket. Will y'all have to do a lottery on it, or?
yeah, I'm assuming it'll be the exact same way it has been for students, at least. I know for the SEC championship game, they sent out the email for that for students. And it was basically what they did for every road game, which was first come, first serve. They open it at like 9 a.m. And it's just, Lord be with you and your internet. And you just hope that you honestly, like, because there's probably thousands of people in there right at 9 a.m. And you just hope that the system likes you enough and just lets you save the ticket long enough to put your card in and you get a ticket. That's basically how the away ticketing works for UT students now. So that's the way it was for the SEC championship game because we could buy tickets. I didn't buy a ticket because I didn't really want to go to the game, nor did I see us truly making the game because I thought it would just be. It's much better just to watch it on my couch if I'm being honest. I mean, if it's a road game, then I definitely go. But I don't like neutral site games, so that's how I think it's just better just to sit on the couch for those.
The way the way it looks is Tennessee, they're not going to get that first round bye. So if they are anywhere from a 5 to an 8, they'll host. If they're below an 8, they'll go on the road for that first round. We got a couple comments. Let's see. Yeah, I agree. If Tennessee loses this week, I think it hurts recruiting. It has to. I think there's going to be a lot of questions on this staff if they happen to lose this week. I have seen it where we possibly go to Penn State first game. What's your thoughts on that one? How do you think Tennessee?
Just how Tennessee matches up with Penn State, you kind of cut out there for a second on my end.
Yeah, did I cut out?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched Penn State multiple times throughout the season. I think that they're not successful whatsoever. If you can shut down Tyler Warren, I think that's the bad thing about Tennessee when we match up with Penn State, because their entire offense does go through their tight end. I don't know how many ball fans have paid attention to them. Their tight end is essentially a Heisman candidate, considering that
Well,
the
you
fact
guys,
that
I don't know if it's me or Kerry. It's cutting out on here. Let us know which one you're hearing. All right, on here, because it could be. I don't know. I'm showing I have a good signal.
Can you hear me?
Mine's kind of in and out a little bit right now. Now, what'd you say on Penn State? Because I couldn't tell if it was you or me. It cut out on it. But.
No, you're fine. I was just saying how their whole team, whole offense goes through Tyler Warren, their tight end, who's a top Heisman candidate. Essentially, they run the ball with him, they throw the ball with him, even pass the ball with him. He's their whole offense is shaped around him. He single-handedly won them the Minnesota game. It's just every time the quarterback steps out of the pocket, it's looking for Tyler Warren, and he just magically always gets open, and he always catches the ball. So he's a different factor. I think for Tennessee, since we lost Keenan Pili, it's hard for me to imagine Tennessee being able to truly shut him down, because you got to have an X factor that you can match up with him. Now, honestly, I don't know. I mean, Arian Carter could. I definitely have no doubts that he could. I just don't think he'd be as effective as a guy like Keenan Pili would, because that's Tyler Warren is Penn State. Penn State's nowhere even near where they are today. They probably have 3 losses on the season if they didn't have him on the team, because he's insanely good. And I think Penn State, if they match up against like a Georgia, Penn State's going to get ran out the building just because Georgia's going to have one guy that can totally shut down Tyler Warren, because Georgia's done that for years now. If they can match up with anybody they want to, no matter the size. So I just think that it comes down to matchups in Tennessee, Penn State. If we go up there, the environment scares me, just considering where it is. Penn State's hard to beat at home. I don't care that they can't win big games under James Franklin. It's still Penn State. They may even pull out the whiteout again. What scares me the most about Tennessee traveling up north is the cold. Nico is not accustomed to the cold. He's from Hawaii and California. Like, he doesn't play in the cold. It was cold in the first half against UTEP, and he struggled mightily in the first quarter when it was cold. And we will truly get to see this week whenever it's 45 degrees in Nashville this Saturday morning. We'll truly get to see how Nico plays. If Nico's off, it's probably the cold weather. So we truly get to see how essentially he will play in a road playoff game, because Tennessee's probably traveling up north somewhere.
Yeah, that somebody mentioned this would be an interesting one here. Boise State right now with the number 4 seed in the bye. Would you take Tennessee getting a 12 seed if they could beat the 5 and then get to go to Boise to play their?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, they wouldn't either, would they? Like I said, it goes neutral side after that, doesn't it?
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's still Boise State. Like, I get that Ashton Jeanty should win the Heisman. I get that nobody stopped him with putting 9 guys in the box, but Oregon's defense just isn't as good as theirs, considering Oregon's played Boise State, and I understand that Ashton Jeanty went off that game. Like, Tennessee loads the box with 9 guys. Boise State isn't doing anything. They're going to have to run the ball with Jeanty 35, 40 times, and it's playing the opponents he has so far this year. That just doesn't match up with the kind of hits he's going to take whenever he faces off against an SEC school. And they don't have the quarterback, and they don't have anybody else on offense that's worth a darn compared to him. So I think for them, they just got to hope they play a team with the awful defense. That's the only way Boise State makes any noise.
Yeah. What's up, Jordan Whitfield? Good to have you in here tonight. He says, Kerry, how's school going?
Good. Can't
All right. No. At no point, if Georgia loses, should they be out of the playoffs, unless they lose this week. If they lose this week, sure, but I don't think you can punish the loser of the SEC championship game and put them out. I just don't think you can. This is one that's possible. Notre Dame and South Bend. That'd be an interesting game. But like you said, it's going to be cold.
Yep.
It's going to be cold up there. Tennessee did get DeJuan Morris tonight. Yeah, now let's keep some OTs. Absolutely. I don't know, man. I'm kind of interested to see on that how Vandy's quarterback does. I could see it going both ways on that one. We've had our moments where we've had issues, and then we've had other games where we look pretty well on it. Let's see.
I like Boo Carter in that spot if he had to essentially be spine Pavia a lot more than typical. If you had to put your nickel guy there compared to a linebacker, if I had to choose.
Yeah, that's I would like that too. Absolutely, I would.
Because I mean, he can tackle. That's definitely something we've noticed is you get him in open field, he's going to make the tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the committee said losing a conference tournament wouldn't negatively impact. It shouldn't. I mean, it shouldn't. If you make it there, it should not impact you. I mean, now if it's Big 12 or the ACC, yeah, I think you got to win and get in those conference tournaments. But as far as the SEC and the Big 10, I don't think it's affecting either of those. Yes, Reese, I did. I don't know BVD or didn't know him, but yeah, definitely Big Vol Daddy. He's done YouTube for a while. I think he went viral back around the Lane Kiffin when he left with the mattress burning stuff. I think he had some big videos, had a lot of followers on. I know he's been on some different shows around, but yeah, we got the sad news. He passed away here a couple nights ago. So, definitely rest in peace to him. Thoughts, condolences to his family along the way. And, definitely a sad day. And, anytime you lose a member of the family, but definitely a sad day for them. So, thoughts,
actually met him.
Condolences to his family.
I actually met him when I was in, I guess it might have been middle school, actually. Whenever Greenville played Elizabethton in football, he was, of course, in town because we know he was a huge Green Devils fan. So he was back behind Elizabethton's football stadium smoking a cigarette, and I noticed him, and I've been watching his videos and everything, and I came up and talked to him for a few minutes. He was a pretty nice guy. Yeah,
I've heard I've never met him. I've only seen him online some, but yeah, definitely a sad day. Not sure if it was something sudden or something. I think I'd seen there is a GoFundMe out for it. Said he didn't have any insurance, so if you could chip in, help out family, I'm sure it'd be greatly appreciated on that. But let's see here. Yeah, I think we can still host a playoff game. I think if Notre Dame loses this week and Tennessee wins, I think we're hosting.
That's definitely a very easy possibility.
I mean, right now your host as the rankings go, Oregon, which I'll be real curious to see if Oregon can beat Ohio State twice. Yeah. It's always hard to beat a good team twice. Tennessee found that out in 2001. Texas is ranked 1. If Texas doesn't lose this week, like you, I don't see them beating Georgia and Atlanta. Penn State is 4th. Penn State will not host. Or I'm sorry, they won't have a bye. They will host. Barring if they don't lose to Maryland this week, I don't foresee it. I thought Minnesota was their game to lose if they were going to, and they skated by and got through that one. So Ohio State, Oregon loser will be a first-round host. Notre Dame will be interesting if they lose this week at USC. I'll be honest, I'm expecting Notre Dame to go out there and win. I think they beat USC. I don't think USC's that good. I expect Georgia to host, which then is going to put it down to either Texas or Texas A&M. There's Tennessee, 7th right now. I mean, the only ones that could move, let's see, the ACC would move ahead of Tennessee. And I guess Boise State could, just because of getting that first round bye. So it's I think they still need a little bit of help on it, but they could definitely still host. That would be pretty awesome. Playoff football in Neyland Stadium.
That'd be sick.
Pretty cool.
I think that they do host. If I had to make a prediction, I think that they host. I think they get the Notre Dame lost this week, but it also just depends on where they rank us tomorrow. If they rank us, if we're sitting at 8th or 9th, just in the poll, not in the actual like matchups itself. If we're sitting at 8th and 9th, I think that puts us in a good spot to essentially host, because then you may get pushed up just a tad bit in the next week after a loss, and then that pretty much puts you in hosting a game. So next week's rankings pretty much determines where we're at.
Yeah, that's going to be the
this
big
time
ones.
next week, basically.
That will be the big ones after the conference championships, for sure. I don't see how it would. Some projections have us playing SMU at home. If SMU wins the ACC championship, they're getting a bye, and I don't know that SMU gets in without winning. I mean, maybe they could, because their one loss is to BYU.
Yeah,
right now
it's just the projections are weird, because a lot of projections are putting into ACC teams, and I don't really know if 2 ACC teams make it, because if it's SMU wins the conference, the only really other team that has an argument would be Clemson. I mean, I just don't. Miami has done nothing to prove that they haven't beaten anybody to prove that, like, okay, we should get into the playoff. I think they honestly probably treat them exactly like they will treat Indiana. You've won a lot of games, but like you're not going to get rewarded because you have no big wins.
You think Indiana could still get in?
I think if they get in, they are the last or second to last team in at this point. I think we see tomorrow night that the Indiana bias or Indiana, I don't know, Cinderella story, that's basically over. They got completely dominated by Ohio State, and all the committee has watched that game. There's no doubt in my mind about that. There's no hiding that game, hiding what happened. Indiana literally in the last few minutes, they purposely did a 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter just to keep the score close, just so they could score a touchdown, hopefully lose 31-15. So it's a 16-point loss, and it doesn't look quite as bad. And then they just let Ohio State march down the field and score. So they got beat by 20-something, and they completely got dominated. I mean, that they didn't even look like a football team for most of that game. I mean, they scored first, and then that was it. They got dominated on offense. They got dominated on defense. And I think the committee punishes them. They may not punish them too much tomorrow, but I think if it comes down to it, I honestly could see the committee putting a 3-loss Alabama team in over a 1-loss Indiana team, considering at least Alabama's beat somebody and Indiana hasn't.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see. Did Alabama and Ole Miss play?
No, not this year.
They did not. They normally would, but I'm still curious to see if they're going to try to find a way to sneak Alabama in if they beat Auburn this week. It would not shock me at all if they do. And the thing about it the other night, Alabama they got it handed to them by Oklahoma. To me, that should have put them out. Yeah. They should be out on that one. But I know the committee. I know how it is. They're going to try to get Alabama in. Think Alabama could be 0-12, and they try to make a freaking case for them in there. Ohio State does host Michigan this week. Game time weather in Nashville, 40 degrees, chance of flurries. Woo. Very interesting. Moonshine, what's going on, man? Good to see you in here tonight. Let's see if I can get called up here. Indiana ranked above 10. Indiana is not above them in the AP poll. I definitely don't see them in the playoff poll being ahead of them. No. I don't know, man. A lot of people's worried. And it'll be a tough game. I just think Tennessee takes care of business. I really do. I expect them to go down and take care of business. I still think there's a path for Indiana to get in, too. Tony Moser says he thinks there is. I mean, I think at one loss, they'll try to make a case with all these Big Ten teams in it. And they've not beat anybody. They've not played anybody. The only good team they played dominated them. But I could totally see it. I just wonder if all these teams losing has not helped Indiana's case, because it's like, well, they're losing. Here's a one-loss team sitting here. I can't see if SMU were to win out. I think they've got to buy. I mean, they would have one loss. There's no way you put a Big 12 team ahead of SMU,
because there wouldn't be anybody from the Big 12 that wins that has one loss. All the Big 12 teams have 2 losses at that point.
Yeah, Miami right now is 8th. SMU's 9th, both of them with 1 loss. Your highest Big 12 team, according to AP poll, is Arizona State at 14. They're 9-2.
Yeah.
Iowa State's 9-2 at 17.
And as of right now, Arizona State's not even in the Big 12 championship game. Right now, it's still BYU, and it'll still be Iowa State as long as Iowa State wins this week. So Arizona State doesn't even get into the Big 12 championship game as of right now.
Oh, so Colorado is not slated to play for it. Right?
Colorado's done. They lost. Their loss against Kansas kicked them out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's this is a good point here. I was reading this tonight too. Vandy's quarterback is not 100% healthy. He said the backup played some last week and did not throw a pass.
They rotated a lot, actually. There was a lot of he'd come in to play, and then they run Pavia back out there. So there was actually a lot of times, because I flipped a lot on Saturday night, as I'm sure a lot of people did. I was probably rotating 4 or 5 games there in the early part of that 7:00 window. And I watched a lot of the Vandy South Carolina game, as some of the other games kind of got beat butt whoopings. So the other quarterback did play a lot, in my opinion. He played there for a while. He played about as many snaps as Pavia did. There was a few times I was like, is Pavia okay? They didn't say anything on the broadcast, but I thought that Pavia may have been hurt, but Twitter never did say anything. So
I just wonder, I think if you're Tennessee, you got to look to South Carolina, what South Carolina was able to do against Vandy 3 weeks ago, and they beat them 28-7, and Sellers had a good game passing, and I don't think he's a good passer. He's gotten better as they've gone along. I fully expect Carolina goes down and probably dominates Clemson.
They may
this weekend.
And LSU, I mean, Nussmeier, he threw for over 300 yards against Vandy. So if you look at it, Nico really should pick their defense apart, especially considering you're going to open up the game, just because you're going to be running the ball at Sampson so much. They load the box and you can hit a few shots. And also, I don't think that LSU didn't necessarily pad the statistics with sacks and tackles for loss, but Pavia he was under pressure the majority of the time when he stepped back. So Vanderbilt's offensive line was definitely, they were getting ate up by LSU defense that's not necessarily been by any means good.
I'm just curious what the Tim Banks game plan is this week. I think that's got to be the question mark in it, because we've seen those games. It's like there's a blueprint out there, but nope, we don't want to do the blueprint. We've got our own way we can do it. I mean, like Georgia, Ole Miss put the blueprint out. We just totally ignored it on it, unless Georgia just adjusted. But, Tennessee's offense, I said it last week. If I'm them, I would have had the game plan in for this game last week. I would have had that game plan in last week, working on it, tweaking it, finding out what's working, what's not working, what we could use, what we can't. I mean, you basically, I think, have to empty the playbook this weekend.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think you did kind of you got good practice on defense, because they did get their quarterback out a lot. He did do a lot of RPOs, and he did run the ball a lot. So that was definitely good practice if they did implement the game plan of what you're going to see against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I just think you got to keep Pavia from getting out running. That's key. If you can keep him in the pocket, I think Tennessee wins handily. I'm not saying they win 45-0 or nothing like that, but I think just a comfortable win, kind of like Oklahoma was. It was, a 10-point game, but I mean, it was a comfortable game.
I think it could honestly play out just like the Oklahoma game did, but I truly do see if it comes down to it in that situation, you see the opposite of what you saw in the second half against Oklahoma. I think Tennessee puts it on them in the second half. There's no standing around just watching the clock go down like you did in Oklahoma. It's just like Tennessee's got the game. You know that Vanderbilt's not going to come back. We may just put an extra score or two on the board just to help our own case. Because, I mean, if you win by 3 touchdowns against Vanderbilt, that's better than, of course, Alabama. That's way better than Texas because they struggled in a 3-point win against Vandy a few weeks ago.
I totally expect them to run clock if they get up like that. I would totally expect with Oklahoma that they don't take any big risks that would potentially cost them the game.
I mean, I don't know if you can. I don't like that just considering how we saw how the Arkansas game went because that's the exact same thing you did against Arkansas. And the Vanderbilt offense is much better than the Oklahoma offense we faced at the time. So I don't like the conservative. I don't like giving them the chance of, okay, they magically score a touchdown and then next thing you know, it's a 1-possession game and they have the momentum. I don't care that there would still be more Tennessee fans than Vanderbilt fans in attendance. We saw all year that Vanderbilt can get a lot of magic done at their own place. So I really just don't like the holding on for dear life mentality. That's just not Josh Heupel, and that's the reason why he loses some games is because he gets too conservative.
Is it not Josh Heupel now, though?
Who would it be?
It's what he's been this year.
I mean, I don't think that this year is necessarily what we've based Josh Heupel off of. I think this is a 1-year thing of, okay, he's got a freshman quarterback and the offensive line just isn't nowhere near what we thought it would be. So honestly, I think he realized after the Arkansas game, even the second half against Georgia, it's like I can't just play conservative and just hope to lean on the defense to win. Because I mean, you did it against Arkansas in the second half, you leaned on the defense and you lost. Honestly, you kind of tried to do it against Georgia and you lost. I just don't think that he necessarily puts that weight again on the defense, just considering they haven't necessarily been the greatest since Peely got injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it hurt them. It hurt them a
Yeah.
lot. I don't like that style. I don't like the conservative Josh Heupel.
No.
So, yeah, I'm hoping he's learned his lesson from it. And
yeah,
I'm with you. You're up a score. You better go down and get another score.
Yeah.
And put it out of reach.
The thing is with that, we saw how poorly Josh Heupel has managed the end of halves or end of games in the last 4 minutes where he's had some awful management issues of not calling timeouts or just the play calls being extremely questionable. There's just been times where I don't know if he plays conservative, if he can necessarily make all the right decisions to close out a game. If it comes down to it, I mean, he's made some very questionable decisions. I mean, he totally blundered the last 2 minutes against Arkansas, and I don't think that's talked about enough. Tennessee is in a much, much, much better chance to win the game if he simply calls a timeout after we hit the big play down the field to, I think it was Thornton with a 40-some-yard play. He let like 30 or 40 seconds go off the clock just on that play. And he's done it the whole time he's been here of times ticking off the clock in under 2 minutes. And he just refuses to call timeouts because he just thinks the guys can get up there and snap the ball in 2 seconds. And you've seen that just not happen since Hendon Hooker's left.
Well, he's worried about the substitutions. He doesn't want to let the other team substitute.
That just doesn't. In that situation, you got to just the substitution. I'd rather let them substitute than let 10 seconds go off the clock any day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's ridiculous. I'm same as you. Let them sub, whatever. They can sub a whole fresh unit. I don't care.
Yeah. Which
we're executing. We're going down the field anyway. So
yeah, which doesn't make much sense to me because you see it all year or the whole time he's been here on third downs. What do? They don't go fast. They stop and they stare at the sideline. They let the other team sub. And then if you definitely got a lot of first downs against Georgia on third downs. Just stop standing there and getting the play call in, letting him sub. Tennessee did extremely well in that game on third down. So if you can do it in that game, why can't you do it under 2 minutes whenever you're rushing down the field? Call timeout, stop, let them sub, and get the right play in.
I mean, how many times have we seen them go to the half with timeouts when they've run off 30 and 40 seconds?
Yeah.
Wasted them. I mean, I totally agree with you. Let them sub. Who cares?
Yeah.
Save the time on it. I don't think the Clemson South Carolina game's going to have any bearing on the playoff, to be honest with you. Maybe for Clemson. If they could, South Carolina, I mean, you and I talked about it a little bit before we went on air. I can't see putting them in over a 3-loss Alabama or a 3-loss Ole Miss. I just don't see Bama nor Ole Miss losing this week. I mean, both of them beat them. Ole Miss beat them in Columbia pretty handily. So I don't see how you make a case for South Carolina to get in, not unless there's just absolute madness happens this weekend. Who would Tennessee play in the first round?
No idea.
Who knows? I mean, they're too close to that 8-9 to know will they play Notre Dame or Penn State, or would they go up and play Boise State? Could they play a Big 12 champion? I mean, who knows? One of your 4 Power 4 has the Big 12 champ, as odds are not getting a bye on it. If Boise State takes care of business, they would get the bye on it.
And a lot of projections actually have Tennessee and Texas matching up in an 8-9 matchup. Tennessee would go on the road to Texas. Yeah, I saw a few of those that say that Georgia wins the SEC championship game and they give Texas the edge over Tennessee, which that would literally only be based off the fact that they beat Texas A&M on the road. So that would be the only reason why they would put Texas over us.
I hope we don't have to go back to Georgia again. I'll just throw that one out. Out of all of them, I think will get in. I hope we do not have to go back to Georgia again.
I think they would avoid that. I think they would even shift a team or two just to kind of avoid that. I think this is the first year they've done it. They really don't want the same matchup to happen early in the season to happen in the first round of playoffs. Because, I mean, this is brand new. We're playing playoff games at university campuses. So I just don't see – I think they want every unique matchup they can possibly have.
I mean, especially when that one just happened recently.
Yeah, same month.
So why do you want to turn around and have the same game at the same place 2 months in a row?
Yeah.
On it. I mean, I can't see it either. But I would honestly just assume Georgia wins the SEC at this point because I don't want to see any part of them. I mean, at the end, sure, but early on, just because Tennessee can't do anything with Georgia, and I have to see them do it to believe it at this point. That's just Georgia has their. I mean, Georgia's a better team. Georgia probably is still deeper than Tennessee, but let's see. But that first round, the big thing, of course, Tennessee's got to take care of business this week, and. You mentioned earlier, they're playing early. I like that. Tennessee tends to play better early than they do late. I think that goes in their favor. SEC football says 90% Tennessee fans. Maybe pretty close. It's normally very orange in Nashville. I got to think.
I was just going to say that I think there may be a few more Vanderbilt fans in attendance than we would typically see. Not because of the season they're having, just because of the ticket prices. I mean, it's $300 just to get in. So I think that a lot of people are going to have to bite the dust to have season tickets and couldn't sell them and end up going to the game because I don't really see you won't see as many ball fans that typically make the trip to Nashville this year just because it's $300 more than what they're accustomed to.
Are you making the trip?
I am not. No, I don't want to.
No, okay. All right. I didn't know if you were going to try to make about 2 hours from Knoxville down?
It's closer to 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. That's the I can't remember what LSU did running game wise. I know South Carolina ran pretty well on Vandy. Did LSU have success too?
They had really 2 guys that had success. I think they ran for pretty much 140 yards, but they threw for over 300 yards, so they were a very even attack. So, but I think that you can lean on the running game and push your will against Vanderbilt and have a lot of success, especially with Dylan Sampson.
I think you got to let him go. This is the big thing we've talked about. Banks. I like Banks. But I'm telling you, he's got to prove it this weekend. This is one of those games he has to prove it this weekend because there's been 2 games on the road this year. Defense was, it wasn't all on the defense, but still, yet the defensive game plan sucked, especially at Arkansas.
Gosh, that was just. I
Yeah.
mean, in all honesty, both games, Arkansas and Georgia, the defense in both was just horrendous. If you truly think about it, like Arkansas was never truly going to score a lot of points just because who they are, but the defense still let them move the ball at will. And then we all know Georgia, where Tennessee did absolutely nothing.
No, they didn't even touch Carson Beck.
I mean, that game, if you truly look at it, that could be a different game just simply if you stop them an extra 1 or 2 times behind their own 40-yard line just to let Boot Carter get some punt returns. I mean, the dude's been successful in every game he's had a punt return. So, and the only punt return Boot Carter really had a chance to do against Georgia, he nearly took it to the house, and he would have took it to the house if Jalen McMurray didn't just completely whiff on a punt or blocking the punter. So, that whole game was just frustrating.
Yeah, I totally agree. Last I seen, the line was around 10.5, 11 points. I think 10.5 was the last I seen on it.
Yep.
What do you think on this one, Joey Halsley? What you think? I still don't know that it's all on Joey Halsley. I don't know that he's the play caller.
No, it's Heupel. Heupel's still a play caller.
I think it's Heupel too. I think Joey Halsley's getting. I think this is Joey Halsley is Josh Heupel's Randy Sanders. Here, I really do, and I think Golish had more control over the offense when he was there, but I just don't think. I don't think Halsley's calling the plays. If he is, it's probably very little. I mean, he has input, I think, but
yeah.
Let's see. Trying to see. Pierce could catch Pavia. I have no doubt. Pierce, they would have to keep him from doing that inside move, though, because if they leave the outside, that was the big thing against Georgia, was they kept rushing Pierce inside and Carson Beck was burning them outside on it. They can't do that against Vandy. Let your defensive tackles do their job in there. No, I don't give Georgia Tech a chance at Georgia. If it was at Georgia Tech, maybe, but let's see. Yeah, 2022. 2022. Josh had Hendon Hooker and Alex Golish also. That's a pretty big difference in what he has
Jalen
now.
Hyatt and Cedric Tillman.
I told you this one would come up. Here you go. We win that Arkansas game if Boo Carter's the punt return.
I mean, I said that last week too. We win that game if Boo Carter returns kicks or punts. I mean, Reese is on it, man. Reese knows ball.
Oh, man, I
we
know
easily win that
I
game.
love it.
Boo Carter returns it because I mean the punt game and that game return wise. Whenever we had Squirrel and I think McCoy returned 1 or 2 as well. I mean, they both just looked lost back there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a truth though. I mean,
it is.
Our special teams in that game killed us.
Yeah.
I mean, that and the Jordan Ross running into the punter on it. Papa J, member of the channel, says if Nico plays the same next year, then this will be a 5-star bust of sorts. Man, that's I think he'll take a step. I think he'll take a big step. I think he's taken a step the last few weeks. I think he's been a whole lot better. I thought he played Kentucky game. I thought he was excellent. I mean, if his receivers catch passes, he's 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I thought that second half of the Alabama game, I thought he played really well. He made some big boy throws in that. Squirrel White didn't let a punt go over his head 70 yards. I mean, it's so funny, but it's the truth. We questioned the whole time, why was Boo Carter not back? But I thought Nico was decent at Georgia. Not great, not bad.
He looked great.
Yep. And then this past week, like I said, started off slow. And then he did what he needed to. I think he's matured and gotten better along the way. And the biggest thing for me, you looked at Alabama game where he threw that absolute hideous interception. He's not had that play since. He's not had that
we don't say that. We don't say that. Considering that game we got this week, we can't say that. We can't speak that into existence.
Yeah, we'll just pretend that was not said.
So
we'll rewind and edit that one out of it right here. I don't know, man. People are hard on the O-line. Do you think they're as bad as people have let on this year?
For the first half of the season, I'd say, or first quarter, or third actually of the season, I'd say yeah, they definitely were that bad. Now it's definitely better. Georgia game at times didn't look pretty, but other than that, they've done a whole heck of a lot better. They still definitely should be a lot better considering the guys that they have across the line. It's kind of disappointing to see how poorly they have played this season, considering you have that much of experienced guys. You honestly have that much talent across the line, and they've gotten beat so much this year. That's definitely probably been them and the wide receivers this year just have been pretty disappointing to me.
Mm-hmm. I was very happy to see Brew get a touchdown, or he got two, but finally get his touchdowns.
Which when I went back and rewatched the game, on that second touchdown he had, he was lined up in the slot across the middle for a slant touchdown. I was kind of like, okay, that's something that we may need to implement. That's something I think we see this week against Vandy. That may be something we've seen in a playoff game of him lining up in the slot, running a quick slant. It worked for him. I think it can work for him. He's probably going to get separation, and he'll catch a physical ball if he has to. It worked for Tillman. We did that a lot with Tillman, and even when we had to, whenever we had to switch it with Hyatt, it worked for him too. So I think that Tennessee's offense gets wide receivers the ball most effectively whenever they got a guy they can put in the slot that can honestly just run a quick slant route and make catches. And I think Brew definitely sets Tennessee up in a great position to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a good play, and I really think they've had good success this year when they've ran Brew on slants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at Oklahoma, he got loose on one, and it's a good play for him. You didn't see an old about 6'8" dude walking around kneeling on Saturday.
No, I missed Backwoods.
Might have stopped and sawed down a tree on the way or something. But what's going on, Backwoods? Good to see you in here, man. Backwoods texted me. He was in the house on Saturday. Got to take it in, and he spoke pretty highly of the environment. And it even sounded on TV like the crowd was into it on Saturday. Normally those games you never know, but I'll give the crowd credit. I thought Kent State earlier in the year, really all the non-conference games, I felt like the crowd still did their job in them. They really were not dead in them at all. Let's see. Timothy McGee for $5. Thanks, man. LOL, fire this guy, fire that guy. I'm tired of hearing that. We're 9-2, possibly 10-2. Getting ready to go to the playoffs. We take care of business. I don't think you can get rid of anybody on it. I know everybody's upset about David Sanders Jr. and wanting to blame Glenn Ellerby. I don't think this one's on Glenn Ellerby. I don't. Ohio, I'm going to get real frank on this one. Ohio State, we're seeing it spun from their end. They're saying it's, he's decided med school. Bullshit. It ain't about med school because it was the same med school 3 months ago when he committed. It is called the almighty dollar. That's what it is. When Tennessee mods who are pretty honest about things are talking about agents involved and stuff, if he would have chosen Ohio State, fine. If he chooses them now, whatever. I mean, it's not going to affect my everyday life anyway. But the guy's been to all these Tennessee games, and now all of a sudden, the early signing period I seen starts December 4th. Now at this point in the game, he's going up to Ohio State, and they're saying he may be back up there again this coming weekend. Writing's on the wall if that's the case. It's not all of a sudden because of med school, because you can verify to this one, you don't get into med school as an undergrad. You got to go for biology or maybe some kind of chemistry or something before you ever get into med school. If David Sanders' career goes as he's probably anticipating, he's going to be in the NFL and does not care about med school at that point. He'll never step foot in it. So, yeah, that's a bunch of crap being fed from Ohio State's end that they're countering Michigan, getting Bryce Underwood for supposedly $11 million. That's their counter. They're coming in David Sanders Jr. with it. We'll see. Steve Wilfong said it's not a done deal. So I wouldn't say it's done yet with it. Here we go. David Cutcliffe. Let's bring David Cutcliffe home here. I think there's another Manning coming up. What, Peyton's boy in high school yet?
Yeah, one of them.
That's normally your key to getting a Manning. Hire David Cutcliffe. I think every Manning that's come through, David Cutcliffe has been involved. Peyton Cutcliffe was at Ole Miss with Eli. He's been an analyst at Texas with Arch. There you go. If they want to get Peyton's boy, bring David Cutcliffe in. Let's see. Give me Saturday to blow the brakes off of Vandy. Yep, let's do it. Let's do it. Timothy McGee says this 2024 isn't 22. Quit bringing that up. Okay. So, guys, don't bring up that the 2024 team is not the 22 team. But it's the truth. Let's see. Mike Matthews had a touchdown, got called back. It's like, here we go. We got Mike Matthews a touchdown, then it got called back.
Holden stays on that play. Just, I don't know what he was thinking. Because Mike Matthews, he turned around. Whenever Holden Stays made the block, Mike Matthews was actually turned around watching Holden Stays make it whenever he laid the guy out. And then Mike Matthews just turns around. There's nobody. So Nico just lobs him the ball over there. So that play was kind of funny to watch. I still got it on my phone. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mike Matthews scored a touchdown. Like, wow. Like, I can't believe I got that on video. Because I got the whole play on video. I was like, wow, it's actually pretty good video because I had some great camera work on that one. I felt like I actually did good on that play. Then I saw the flag and I was like, crap, it's coming back. So
did you have the flag flying in it by chance?
Yeah, the flag. Yeah, the flag was in there. Because I went back and watched it, like, what was the flag for? Then I saw Holden Stays just plow a guy. And I was like, well, that's definitely what it was.
Let's see. Mr. Frank Rock, I've never heard you cuss before. That's the first. Yeah, that was the first one I've ever dropped right there, guys. So, went all this time in my life, not dropped a word, and then it just finally happened right there. I don't drop a lot. I've had some pretty interesting ones on before. During baseball one night, I got pretty animated on it. I think it was now the national championship I did. I got a text from my mom not happy with me over some of the stuff. Man, I hope so. I hope we boat race Vandy on Saturday. I'm totally expecting a close game. I'm totally expecting a nail biter. I just think that's what this team is. But a win's a win. That's all I'm worried about this week. Let's see. At least Mike can catch it with his hands and not his chest falling down. That's a fact.
He did drop the one. He did drop the touchdown in the fourth quarter. So, and even the pass that Gaston Moore made to him, which was behind him, but there was still 2 Mike Matthews drops, which was definitely disappointing to see, which may impact his playing time, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you get your chances, you got to take advantage of it.
Yep.
The Zach Edey pregame was pretty animated. Yeah, I got pretty worked up over the Zach Edey game in the Elite Eight. I had Purdue fans coming in. You'd have thought they lost the game or something coming in. It's like, whatever, man. Tricks, or T-Rex says 35-13 on Saturday. I don't know about that. I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. Were you doing the Chomp Saturday?
I think I maybe did it. I think I videoed too much. I was videoing other people doing it. I clapped. I didn't do the chomp. because my streaming was ahead of everybody else, so I knew what happened in the game, and then I'd watch other people's reactions. So I don't remember actually doing the chomp.
Yeah, that goes to show you how times have changed now.
Yeah,
the Tennessee fans pulling for Florida and doing the chomp. That goes to show you what the playoffs done. I had a friend of mine, I don't know if he's a Florida fan or I think he's more of a Penn State fan, but I know he said his boy is a Florida fan. He'd sent me a message and with them doing it. And I was like, yeah, it goes to show you. I said, I think I was even doing the chomp here at my house after it happened.
Yeah, that was.
And he is a diehard Eagles fan, absolutely despises the Cowboys. He said, yeah, I have to pull for the Cowboys today. He said, the world is insert word that starts with an F on there. It's it's a strange world when Tennessee fans are cheering and chomping on it. But that's what the playoffs bring, and rivalries are out the window. I mean, I think it's even at the point if we had to pull for Bama to help get us into playoffs, that's who we're pulling for.
Yeah, and I think we do kind of have to pull for them this weekend against Auburn, which stinks because, I mean, who wants to pull for Bama? But if they get another loss, that definitely does hurt Tennessee.
Yeah, that's you're right, because that's still Tennessee's best win.
Yep.
And
that doesn't keep Tennessee out of the playoff, but it definitely hurts Tennessee seeding wise, possibly. That's definitely a conversation that gets brought up.
Yeah, for sure on it. I mean, Tennessee, I think I saw today their strength of schedule is 21st right now. So teams on it starts losing, that strength schedule starts going down. So we need that. Helped with Oklahoma last week, but it hurt with Alabama. It made that Oklahoma win look better, but it made the Alabama win look worse. Ed is for UT. He said, I did the chomp, then I prayed for forgiveness. Hey, it is what he is.
It's okay, Ed. It happens.
Edie's still standing in the paint. It's pretty funny. Edie got up and fouled out. What was it? Fouled Dalton Connect and fouled out. Guy never fouled out of a college game. Now he's fouled out of numerous NBA games. I mean, Moonshine said everybody around him was talking about the Florida Ole Miss. I got to imagine there were a lot of phones.
Oh, yeah. I watched more of that game in the third quarter than I did the Tennessee game. And I'll be honest with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it too.
And I was at the game. Like, I was watching my phone more than I was watching what was right in front of me. Because, I mean, Tennessee game didn't matter really in that aspect in that point in the game. And honestly, that was most of the game. I watched a lot more of that than I did watch the Tennessee game until after that game was over.
Yeah, if you're a Grizzlies fan, God bless you. Yep, you've got Edie for a while.
Yeah.
Or he could be a lifelong Lakers fan like myself, and you get to watch West Side Connect, DK Connect 4 on it. The greatest gift the Lakers have gotten in a long time. Let's see what we got here. Somebody keeps coming in and saying 98. Okay. Yep. 98. Maybe that's the thinking. Maybe this feels like 98 again. Who knows on it? But let's see. It looks like Amber's a member of the channel. So thanks for being a member, Amber. Definitely appreciate that as well. Nealon Wi-Fi is good now. Is that right?
It is 30 times better than it was. There is still times whenever it just goes completely missing. Like it went missing for me in the fourth quarter of the Ole Miss Florida game. So I had to work some magic to get it back to working again. So definitely a little panic moment.
If Tennessee wins, we are happy next Monday night. If what?
What was that again? Sorry.
We are happy when we come on next Monday night if insert blank.
I mean, of course, if Tennessee wins.
You think it's a given they're in if they win?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a given if they win.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think there's any way. Because I've seen people saying, well, because it says now the percentage projected in 76%. If they win, it's like up in the 90s. I don't see how you put them out anyway.
No,
if they win,
there's no way.
Yeah. So Tennessee's in if they win. We have a real interesting night next Monday night if blank happens.
I'm not saying it.
Projection. What's your prediction for this weekend?
I predicted. I know I was thinking about it. Vanderbilt scores 16 points this weekend. 3 of those, they make 3 field goals because their kicker is actually really good. Probably the best kicker in the SEC. Let's go. Tennessee scores. I like 32-16.
32-16.
Or 31-16.
31-16.
I think 32 is necessarily too possible.
Either one. I'm going to say, let's see where we'll go here on it. I'm going to say 24-13. I'm going to say 24-13. They get a touchdown, 2 field goals on it. So that's where I'm going. Tennessee. I think Tennessee takes care of business. There's too much on the line this week. Yeah, I know Florida went down to Ole Miss, or Ole Miss went down to Florida last week. Double-digit favorite loss. My difference in it, Florida's playing a lot better football.
Oh, yeah.
And Vanderbilt's lost 2 in a row. Vanderbilt will come out ready this weekend. I have no doubt about it. But I think we're going to find out. I mean, to me, we find out about Josh Heupel this week. This is Josh Heupel's chance to cement, in my opinion, whether he's the guy or not. Because if you come out this week, you take care of business, you get into the playoff, that's a dude who's here to stay for a while at Tennessee. You don't? Well, I'm not saying he goes on the hot seat by any means, but I'm just going to say there are serious concerns on it because we've seen this. We've seen it before. And if it were to happen, it's going to take a lot of convincing to get me on the wagon at that point. You're going to have to really work hard to convince me to get back on. It's just the way it is, right or wrong. But when you get these opportunities at Tennessee, a program that, as old Tennessee's #1 fan, Amber here, likes to keep pointing out, it's been since 98 since Tennessee's won a championship. You get into the playoff, you are playing for the national championship with it. Amber couldn't tell you anything that's happened probably any other year besides 98. But, hey, she's on here contributing to the chat tonight. The chat loves you tonight, Amber. Thanks for tuning in. Anything else that we've left off tonight?
No, we hit the Dwayne Morris commitment. So
Morris commits. Yep, Morris flipped from USC tonight. They've been on that one for a while. Isaiah Campbell, former Clemson commits, going to be one to watch. He was back in town this past weekend. It's between North Carolina and Tennessee on that one. David Sanders Jr. watch. It's going to be interesting. I don't have a lot of confidence in where that one's going. When you take these last-minute spur-of-the-moment visits out of nowhere, that to me is not a good thing. Maybe Tennessee staff was aware of it the whole time, but this was not one of those visits just to take in a big-time game. It was he was there, supposed to be there through today. Will Fong on 3 says it ain't over, but says he heard that the visit went really well. Otis Konabani, cornerback out of Columbia, visited Florida. I'd seen some stuff tonight thinking Tennessee might have weathered the storm on that one. Trying to think who else. Darion Smith visited Auburn. Stuff I'm seeing thinks he may flip. But you know what? If he flips and then Isaiah Campbell gets in the fold, that may be a pretty good trade-off. Not that you want to lose either one, but the offensive line's the concern, though. You've already lost Douglas Utu. If you do lose David Sanders, which is possible, it's a big concern That's a really big concern. And
I'm terrified if that happens.
yeah, I mean, your key is, in my opinion, to basically negate that is you got to keep progressing with Lance Hurd, and then you got to hope a Bennett Warren, a Jesse Perry, a Larry Johnson. You got to progress them. You got to on it. You know, if they do progress, they make a difference next year. Maybe it's a moot point with David Sanders Jr. if he does flip to Ohio State, but I just don't. There's numerous guys you don't want to lose out of this recruiting class. You definitely don't want to lose Sanders with it, but I would just be prepared for it if I'm Ball Nation. And this is no acronyms, none of that. I don't buy into the BVS stuff. It's just the fact of the matter is you don't want a guy visiting that close to signing day, and especially if he's going back again this weekend. That's bad news. It's a bad recipe that's coming up. But, you know, it is what it is, man. It is recruiting. It is the nature of it. And like I said early, Ohio State's trying to spin it. It's because of the medical school. The medical school was not just built in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, if they did not do their due diligence on the academics before, that's on them. And I wish more guys, obviously I'm not a recruit, never was, never will be, but I wish more would do their due diligence. And, you know, if coaching staff change, yeah, I don't blame them for looking around. But I all the flipping, don't commit if you're not ready. But who am I? And I don't blame it on the kids. They're kids. Where's the adults in the room? Where's the adults in this? I mean, especially if this NIL stuff going. Now, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, like I said, I think if you develop your tackles you got, we can live without it. Definitely don't want it to happen. But I guess we'll be live. We'll talk about it here. Plan on going live Saturday. See, games at 12, SEC Network. So about 3-4 o'clock, we'll either be celebrating going to the playoffs, or we might as well just go ahead and light the fire on it, one of the two. But any final words before we wrap this one up tonight?
Nope, I ain't got nothing else. Beat Vandy.
All right, Lady Vols play tomorrow night 7. As of right now, I don't know that I'll be live. I got some other priorities tomorrow night. Men's team coming off of a dominating weekend in the Bahamas where they annihilated Virginia, annihilated Baylor from the get-go. Virginia, first half was a little ugly. Second half, though, there's a reason. Twitter had me a little fired up, that Virginia game. I already saw people. This is a 4 or 5 seed. Barnes, he doesn't know offense. The first half was not even over. And then the second half happened.
Yeah.
Chaz goes off. Chaz was in fuego for the second half Virginia and the first half at Baylor. That was insane the other night, what he did. Tennessee basketball team is good, though. They are a really good basketball team this year. They're down to 9 on the rotation. They cannot afford any more injuries. So with Estrella out for the year, Cam Carr out for at least a month. So good to see Dubar getting a little bit of action. I thought he looked pretty good in a little bit. We saw him. Cade Phillips has progressed immensely if he just finished at the rim consistently. We'll go from there. Somebody mentioned baseball here. What? Who got baseball first game? They still have not announced the schedule yet, have they?
No, they don't finalize all the non-conference games. Right now, it's basically first game of the year is kind of listed as Oklahoma State and whatever tournament classic thing they play in. That's what they got listed as the first game right now.
Okay, because I know Clemson announced their schedule today. Yeah, it looks like all they've got, yep, you're right. All they've got announced right now, Oklahoma State in Houston, February 28th. I think that'll be the first game. Rice on March 1st in Houston, Arizona March 2nd. So that'll be a good little start to the season. And then your non-conference will start midweek and move into it. I've seen who it looks like the opponents are going to be. I saw it posted on VolQuest. Can't remember off the top of my head. I know Hofstra, Tennessee Tech, ETSU, some of those were in. But the SEC portion of the schedule is finalized already. They've already got it up on utsports.com. It's just the non-conference part that has to get finalized. But, like you said, they've got the opening weekend ready to rock and roll in Houston. That's something they've been doing past couple of years. That'd be pretty cool. Play some good competition. Then along the way,
it's good. Their first SEC series is actually at home.
Yeah. Yes, they've been on the road, the last couple of years on that first one?
I think it's every year except one that Tony Vitello has been here. They've been on the road the opening weekend of conference play. So this is huge for us because, what was it last year? First road series was Tuscaloosa.
Alabama.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa. And we lost that series. So shouldn't have lost that series, but we lost that series.
Nope, left Snead in too long. Snead was getting hammered and he wouldn't pull him, which I get it. They had some trust issues with their pitching at that point, but still, that was I think Vitello knew it. He's a pretty honest guy. He'll call a spade.
Oh yeah,
a lot of times. But yeah, they lost that one. Lost Auburn first game, then they bounced back after that. Baseball will be fun to watch. Baseball's not going anywhere. They're going to be around for as long as Tony Vitello's there. They're going to be there, especially with the recruits they're bringing in. It's
and the portal guys.
There's literally 15 to 16 guys who in that lineup that you could make a case should be in the lineup. So let's see. Herb says they open on the weekend February 14th. Okay, that's interesting. Let me look. I know last year they started in Arlington. Let me look back to 20 because I was kind of wondering about that too if they weren't a little bit earlier. Last year, the first games were February 16th. So, yeah, he's right on that. I was thinking that seemed a little late on it. So, they will open. They'll probably have a couple non-conference home weekend series, and then they'll head down to Houston on it. So, that February 14th, I would expect will be a home. They'll have a couple midweek. They'll go home again, a couple midweek, and then they'll go down to Houston on it as well. So be a lot of fun. Tennessee athletics are rolling. If Tennessee football wins this weekend, they're in the playoffs playing for a national championship. Tennessee basketball right now, saw today, is ranked 7th. I believe it is, according to the AP.
7th.
So both teams are ranked in the top 10. Baseball is going to be probably top 5 coming in, top 10 at worst. And the Lady Vols, once they get their respect, they keep winning. They will eventually get ranked. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when, as long as they keep taking care of business. So I think we're going to wrap it up on that one. Big week for Tennessee, just all the way around. I hope all of you have a happy Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving week. Make sure you eat plenty of turkey, whatever it is you eat this week. But, as always, thank you for the support. Make sure you hit that like, you share, you subscribe. He's Kerry, Frank, House of Orange Sports Channel. Last but most certainly not least, it is always a great day to wear the orange.